I was in the grocery store one day and picked up a Backstage West, and I hadn't picked one up in 4 years. And I went home and opened it up, and I saw The Libertine, and I had seen the original production with Malkovich in Chicago. I thought, wow, what a great play. I'll send in my headshot. It's a long shot. Got a call to read, got a call back. I was ecstatic enough just to get the call back, and when Sam called me and told me I had the role, I almost hyperventilated and passed out. And here I am, and that's how it was.
Awesome.
And this is not my real hair.
Ta-da! There we go.
Victor Victoria. Most embarrassing part. Actually, on stage, all my embarrassing moments happen off stage. Ask the cast. On stage, embarrassing moment on stage. Oh, in the last scene, I had a lot of boogers running down my nose when I was crying, and that was pretty embarrassing, so I didn't want them to drip onto Brett's face, but I also didn't want to go like this, so I had to just sort of let them hang there. That was kind of embarrassing. I'd say it was the worst. Yum.
Good, that's great.
Okay. Next.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
What did you like best about the whole thing?
Actually being in this show was great, and a lot of the scenes and flows nicely, and getting to know people outside of the show was also wonderful, and really got close with a lot of these people in the cast. The whole cast, actually, we all really gelled and came together through made some good friendships and whatnot.
Good. What did you learn from this production?
What did I learn? God. I don't know. I'm not very good at learning things. This is for all you people now. What did I get out of the show? Any help? I got nothing out of the show, really. You know what? I know everything, and in fact, I could teach all of you. If you need to know anything, come to me, okay? Because I know everything. I don't need to get anything out of anything. You come to me and get something out of me. Yes. Next question.
What did this play mean to me?
Yes.
It's definitely a play about excess and overindulgence. A lot of things which are still around today but are still frowned upon. It's interesting to see them presented in such a way that they're out there in the open, like the pornography, the blatant sex and so forth. It's just interesting to see how even in a less civilized time, if you will, that it was just more part of the world. And it still is, but it's just sort of covered over now, is what I'm getting at with that. That's my answer to that question.
What was your funniest or most embarrassing moment?
Funniest, most embarrassing moment. All throughout rehearsal, there was a line I gave where I was supposed to say, "So why did he bring you back?" And I kept saying, "So why did he banish you?" And the following line is, "Why did he banish you in the first place?" So I'd say, "Why did he banish you?" And it was followed immediately by, "Why did he banish you?" So I'd realize at that point I'd made my error. Later on in the play, I say, "Why did he banish you?" which is why I got confused. And tonight, in the matinee show, I actually said, "Why did he bring you back?" at the second time, and I was corrected on stage by my lovely fellow cast member, Brett, by saying, "A better question is, why did he banish you?" At that point, I realized, oh, I've screwed up the other way, like I used to do in rehearsal. So
That's pretty embarrassing.
yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. Nobody else noticed, but it was embarrassing to me because I knew. I'm ashamed.
Good.
Is that it?
Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, what did I learn from this piece? I learned from this piece, I think it was, for me personally, it was learning confidence in my abilities, because it had been a long time since I've done a period show. The last thing I did was, I think I was Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors, which is a far stretch from Elizabeth Barry in this play. So I think that's what I learned the most, was to trust myself and to learn the language and learn an accent.
Tell us your funniest or most embarrassing moment that's happened.
Oh my most embarrassing moment. I have a few. Well, I think it was opening night. I sat my hat down and I thought it was secure in its place, and then it just kind of followed me. It got attached to my dress and it followed me across stage, and it landed center stage, smack dab. So we're in the middle of this like really dramatic speech, and like I'm looking at this hat like, when am I going to work picking that up? But I did, and it was okay. What else was my most embarrassing moment? I think I accidentally thought I bit Brett once during the kiss, but I think he might have liked it, so it was okay. That's it.
Go girl.
Bring on the sluts! Oh boy, giving head in front of like 100 people at night. I think being a prostitute's easy. Just being a prostitute in front of an audience is difficult. Well, it's very. You just realize how much you want to be an actor because anybody who had any reservations definitely wouldn't do it. And you learn how valuable friends are because they laugh for you and they don't judge you. Ooh, something just fell over. It's okay.
Sorry.
They're professionals. I don't know. At first I was uncomfortable with it because I was seeing the staging in my head every night when I went to bed. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to be out center stage giving Brett head in front of a bunch of people? And I thought, oh God, no, it's horrible. But it was staged very tastefully behind the thing. But then the sucking noises were included. and that was executed like this.
Sure it was.
So I'd pop up from the thing and I'd have lipstick like it. It was pretty real. But if people didn't laugh, then I'd get uncomfortable. Or if people didn't respond. And it's funny because you start doing it and everyone stops moaning and you hear people creaking in their chairs and they're scratching and they're elbowing each other. But eventually the king wanders in with this, ooh, and everything is wonderful and I can relax and keep sucking. Oh no, God, it was tonight. It was horrible. I don't want to talk about it. No, after the scene, I go to the front and I'm like, oh, I hate it when they try to make you care for them, blah, blah, blah. And then I get to the part where I'm like, but I could use him. And the line is, I don't remember.
Isn't that the problem?
Yeah, that's it. Well, it did that. It went, phew, and I went, one thing is,
Hook your stakes into an arrow.
thanks, Jared. And a girl could hook her sticks in an arrow like that. And once if you go up and you blank, you can kind of stop for a second and the line will come back in your brain and oh, this isn't a line, blah, blah, blah. But if you start the line wrong, it's just like a snowball of shit. It just rolls and rolls and it more shit and it became completely, you couldn't understand. What I did is I just made my accent really thick. And I figured most people don't understand the line anyway. A girl could rise herself and hook she stikes in an earl. Who understands that? A girl could stike herself but a hook she rises in an but I won't be burned with his buzz. And I said that really clearly and I went, and I marched up. And see, that's how you cover your flub. You just accent really thickly. And it was horrible.
Well, I don't know. It's been a really wonderful experience. I've never gotten to play a character like this. It's a Cockney comic character. And it's just been such a pleasure to do it. I love the style of the play. I love what it's about. I'm just full of love for the whole thing. It's been totally groovy, man. I don't know. I guess I learned. I learned more about acting just from the experience. Like really how to work an audience as a comic actor.
Good. Lastly, tell us what's your funniest or most embarrassing moment that's happened?
I think that was during a rehearsal. This was several weeks ago, but kind of by the luck of the draw, Scott and I were partnered. in the dog and bitch scene. And we were, I think it was it was kind of a tense moment for both of us. We were both kind of chagrined because all the other guys.
Now we're in love. we've come together as a couple.
It's been a very special moment getting to know Samantha. And anyway, we were, David and Dale and Steve, they go off with all, these sexy women and sort of after each other. But as Scott says, we've kind of worked it out for ourselves. Let our hair down, so to speak. So it all worked out well, but yeah, that was kind of embarrassing at first.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Playing this part was a lot of fun for me. Mainly because it's just a nice little scene that kind of has an important part in the play, but at the same time it allowed me to do a little bit of stage combat to show indifference to a man dying on stage in front of me, and get kicked around by a bunch of people at one time. And since I like that sort of thing, it was a good experience for me. So that's all I have to say about that.
And what was your funniest or most embarrassing moment?
Funniest moment for me was, I think it was the first Friday night performance we had. And my new good friend, Emily, who has come across as being sort of a nice, quiet kind of a person, says to me on stage, ad-libs the line on stage near the beginning of the scene in the Playhouse, "You can feel my oranges if you want to." I was so taken by that. I didn't know what to say. She actually shut me up. And as everybody here knows, that's a hard thing to do. And she managed to keep me quiet for about a full minute on stage. And that's no small feat. So, and that was by far my funniest moment on stage.
That's excellent.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been it's been a real journey, because it's like, with something this big and coming where it did in my life, I've been so busy in my life outside of the play that it's sort of, there's so much to it that I feel like I'm kind of winging a lot of it. I feel like I'm kind of just doing a lot of it from the seat of my pants, and which is kind of good in a way, because then you don't judge, you just sort of do, which so it has its positives and negatives. And I feel like it's really stretched me, obviously, as an actor. It's I get to do things I've never done before. I got to do things, a variety of things I've never done before, all at the same time. So it's incredible. It's the kind of thing that you always want to do.
Good. And lastly, tell us what was the funniest or most embarrassing thing?
Opening weekend, we got this moment where I, whipped the cover off the monkey, and it says burlap covering, and you see the stage right here. It's this little thatched roof is right behind me. So I take it with my right hand and I whip it off like this, and the burlap catches on the thatched roof, and it functions much like Velcro, right? So I'm pulling on it while somebody else is talking. I'm trying to pull suddenly, and I'm pulling harder and harder, and I'm putting more and more of my body weight into it. And I finally had to grab it with both hands and yank, and I thought the whole side was coming down. I heard so that was really embarrassing.
Good.
That's great.
Well, this is my first play in 10 years that I've been in, and I couldn't think of a better cast of people to work with, sort of getting back into the groove. So it was a wonderful experience, because we have an outstanding cast of people who are great on stage and off stage.
Cool.
I have not yet had an onstage kiss, and here in this show, I get an onstage fuck. So,
So tell us the funniest or most embarrassing thing.
The most embarrassing moment took place this afternoon when we were doing the matinee performance. My cousin Sarah was in the audience and decided just before the dog and bitch yard scene, she was going to go use the restroom. And she came out of the restroom as Kate and I were enjoying ourselves in the doorway. And I'd never had the opportunity to perform for Sarah quite that
That's good.
All right, that's good.
Thanks.
So there were 3 other memorable moments that I forgot to mention. First was David Maddox thank you for being my Star Trek buddy. Nobody else understands. And thank you to Steve Hasley for making awesome curtains and, of course, letting your ass hang out in play. We very much enjoyed watching your ass hang out. Third thing, of course, is Samantha Brown, whom I've known since I was in high school. Samantha, thank you for this production. Thank you for Samion Productions. And thank you for not typecasting me. Who knew that I would ever play an English nobleman? Love ya.
I guess this play is unique to me because, well, let's start off by being core 1 and core 2, and then I moved up to be the wizard and the staff. So if anyone was getting paid in this film, or in this play, I would probably take home the most from this. But it was a really great learning experience. I particularly enjoyed doing a lot of the background research. Sam had a couple of books laying around while we were all at her house rehearsing all the time, and I just really became fascinated by the history of the period and the fact that this play is based on characters that were all once alive, and I really enjoyed doing research and looking into the history of things. So.
Tell us what was the most funniest or embarrassing thing.
I would definitely have to say my most embarrassing moment was last Saturday evening when my dad came to see the show. What wasn't embarrassing about that? I think it was when I had to come out in the dog and bitch yard and give the king a blowjob behind the table. That definitely topped it off. He made light of it though, and he really enjoyed the show, so it wasn't that torturous. But it will be a moment that I will always remember.
Look how stylish.
Show your shirt. Show your shirt. There you go.
Very Nicholson, that's you.
Hi, King. So
tell us, how is this character, the king, how is this character similar to you? The hustler.
He's pretentious as I am at times, and but I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy playing this guy. I use him in my daily life now. I call up my landlord and my loan company as the king, and I get things done, which is really great. Whereas before, they would just put me on hold. But I just wanted to say that this cast that I've had the pleasure of working with has been the most professional group of people that I've worked with in years, and I can say that because I think I'm the oldest. So, but really, I told my friends that there are no beautiful people in this cast, and they didn't quite understand. What I meant was that they're all character actors, and I have the utmost respect for character actors. I don't really have time for beautiful people. So, I think I've been lucky to work with these people, and they've kept me on my toes because they're very focused group of people, so, and it was, always kept me on my toes.
So, talk about funniest thing that's happened to you.
In this show?
Yeah.
I was squealing on stage. Squealing while getting head on stage. That was the most embarrassing thing, probably. But, there's a lot of perks, working with a group like this. You're backstage changing with beautiful women, and, that's about, for me, that's, as good as it gets. So.
Good to be the king.
Yes, it is. It's good to be the king. The king doesn't have a lot of angst, and I was really lucky, playing this guy because, it's not like there wasn't a lot to dig for, but he gets to have a whole hell of a lot of fun. And I wanted to thank Sam, unless I forget, that she trusted me to understudy Rochester, and I'm watching Brett do this work, and I'm going, oh fuck, man, I hope nothing happens to this guy, because I'm like, I don't know if I can go there.
But one of the things I learned from this piece was that, we don't imitate, we create on stage and we play the truth. And so that sort of freed me, because if I had to go up as Rochester, I realized that I would be free to do what to create, so it's really been a blessing. But now I have to find a job. Make some money, so that's about it.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks.
For me, this has been an amazing experience, only in the sense that, well, in many ways, but I have been doing law for so long, and my first year in law school, I kept, trying to do acting. I was taking my acting classes and this and that. And then just for a while, I haven't been able to do it. And this has been my last opportunity to really do theater. I don't know when I'm going to do this again. I don't know, probably several years down the line if I get an opportunity to do this. But my world is kind of focusing in on law and the rest of my life there. So this is kind of my last hurrah, and it has been a real pleasure just to be able to do theater again and be a part of an experience like this and be working with all these people, these wonderful people. That has been what I've kind of gotten out of this show for me.
So tell us about your most embarrassing moment.
I haven't really had the most embarrassing. I've had a lot of crazy moments. I've had a lot of missing my note, forgetting my this, running around, having lines that I've completely forgotten on stage, and having people come up to me afterward and go, "Where was this line?" I'm like, "Oh, I was wondering what was going on. I didn't know what was moving there." Yeah, I've done a lot of that. So it's just been that's my most, I guess, funny, embarrassing. I guess most embarrassing, of course, has got to be Dog and Bitch. And apparently the other night it was really hilarious because I was popping up and down and not really giving poor Steve a blowjob. So I don't know what was going on. I don't know what's going on behind the screen. All I know is my back hurts. That's all I know. Oh, and costuming was insane. I'll do that. You guys can't ask a question, so I'll say that. Costuming was insane. There was too much costuming to fix. Not enough Taleen to do costuming to fix. Work, school, costuming, acting, too much costuming to fix. That's it, that's all I'm saying. I'm done now.
I think it's funny the plays I choose and when I choose them and how I've chosen them and where I've been when I've chosen them. It was after reading it. Brett Elliot, who plays Rochester, brought me a few plays. He said, "You got to take a read of these." When we had done a reading of it before, and makes the Libertine look so conservative. And then I read this one, and I love nonfiction. I've always been a lover of nonfiction. It's pretty much all I casually read, anything historically based. And once going through it, it was so well written, so well developed, and I related to every single character in the play, frightening enough. And it was just a must do. I just had to do it.
Good. Talk to us about the audition process and finding all these people.
Oh, good. They're gonna love it. No, it's good. Look at you're all here. No. I started off. I received over 400 headshots. I auditioned about nearly 300 out of those. Callbacks, I got down to 70. But everyone you see here, it's like you just know, just gems, each one. It's fabulous. The people who were sitting with me in auditions, you get giddy. It's just like this excitement. That's it. That person. Done deal. And it's kind of always happened that way. I've been so lucky. But literally, each one of these cast members that have come through, they just hit you. And they're fabulous. And it's great just watching the characters evolve because they each have that special something where you go, they've got it. And others, in the first couple of seconds when they walk in. And I knew with these guys. And thanks, guys.
Excellent. I notice as as a group, there's a lot of adhesiveness and a lot of affinity amongst this whole group. What do you? How do you create that?
It creates itself. Theater is a family. It always has been. It's something that I love when you take a look at that versus commercials, versus film. You depend on each other. You have no idea what's going to happen from moment to moment. Someone will jump in and save you. Someone will make your role. Someone will give you something to play off of that you never thought would happen. From one performance to the next, your performance is individualized because everything is in the moment. Just like this play says. I mean, you live in the moment. And I think that it's a trust thing. And you start off in that, you throw 13 people in a room who've never met each other, and just say, you know what, in 2 months, you'll die for each other. No one's going to let anyone fall on this stage. And they all work together in harmony. It's amazing. That's why I love theater.
That's excellent.
Okay then. So, being up in the booth.
Oh no! Did you say no?
Is there something you've been doing in the booth?
No!
That you want them to know about?
What's going on?
Yeah, now you got it.
Are you having your own dog and bitch yard scene up there?
Ken and I are very close. Really good, Ken. I felt left out. No, we have our own little amusements up there.
Don't worry, I got it on film.
Yeah.
Might as well come clean now.
I'm here for you. 100% here for you. But I did have my most embarrassing moment tonight in the booth. It was very funny. My family, we had a full house, so the back row has folding chairs, and so my entire family and extended family were sitting in the back row, and the air conditioning was on, which is always hell in here because it just gets to be an icebox. And it got so bad that I was cold, and everyone knows that I get cold like the drop of the hat. So I opened up the booth door and I was trying to signal to my family that turn off the air conditioning because it's right behind them. And gotta love my family. So I open the door and they can see me. So they all turn and look at me, and I'm all cold, turn off. And they're like, yeah, yeah. And I'm no, cold, no. And they just went on for like 3 minutes. Up you. And I'm not the most affectionate person with my family, so I like openly public displays of affection. So they're probably like, she's gone off the deep end. She's doing a sex play and she loves us. And then it turned to the whole thing, and they finally got the idea. But I was dying. It was too funny. But, yeah.